YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my updated college football power rankings. I do this video every single week. This one is just before week 5 of college football. And a big change here. I'm going through all top 25 teams, in my opinion. We have been doing top 10, but now through all top 25. This is based off of mainly how teams execute. Are they proving to me that they can execute against any other top 25 teams or the top tier teams, both sides of the ball? Also, their body of work, who they played. I think this is how rankings should be. So I don't really 100% agree with AP poll or the college football playoff poll always. So these are my rankings, top 25, and we're going to talk about the teams that just missed at the very end. So hopefully you can join us every week for these updated power rankings. Right before we get started, we do have extra content available on our Patreon, patreon.com/thegoathouse. You can get extra NFL score predictions, picks against the spread every week, updated playoff Super Bowl predictions, updated NFL mock drafts, bonus videos, Discord chat, and a lot more. Just to check out more info, click that link towards the top of the description. It's the patreon.com/thegoathouse link. And our subscriber goal is 40K by the end of this year. Please help us out by subscribing. We got you covered with NFL and college football content. I do the same exact video for NFL power rankings. Click that like button. We'll also be live streaming tonight and every once in a while, so turn notifications on so you know when we will be live. And check out our Twitter. To the top 25. Let's see who's coming at number 25 here, and I'm going to put Texas A&M there. If we're talking the talent of this team, and they're better than number 25. They really are better than 25, but they have 2 losses. It's hard for me to keep a team with 2 losses in the top 25, but because they are better than what their record shows, they just stay in here. And they lost to Clemson. We'll see where Clemson's going to be at. Another loss to Auburn. A very impressive game for Auburn there. So 2, I guess it's tough losses, but easily top 10 teams, I guess we'll call it right now. So I do have A&M at number 25. At number 24 is Michigan. I wasn't high on Michigan before, even when they were undefeated before the season started. I thought they were way overrated by their rank. I had a feeling Wisconsin was going to beat them pretty easily, and they did. Michigan hasn't really proven much to us, but they do have talent, and I do think they're better than all the other teams behind them here. So I do think they're deserving of 24, but I would like for them to show me more. Shea Patterson's got to be much better. They have playmakers at receiver and on defense, so they can definitely be much better, and that's why everyone is so disappointed in Michigan football here. Number 23, a disappointing loss this week in Utah. They come out at number 23. For a Pac-12 team, I think pretty balanced. One of the better defensive Pac-12 teams, even though it didn't really look that way against USC. USC's offense looked really good, even down to their third-string quarterback. In Utah, some injuries on offense, I guess, changed things. If they're 100% healthy, they should be better than number 23. But looking at their body of work, they beat some decent teams, not the best scheduling, and they struggled against USC. But they're going to be at number 23 for now. Next team is Boise State. I'm not quite as high on Boise State as maybe an AP poll or everybody else. Yeah, they're undefeated. I guess that's why they're ahead of the teams that are below them, but maybe not the greatest body of work. Maybe it looked good at one point, but beating Florida State when they were getting beat pretty bad, and it isn't the best win. Air Force is a decent win. I just want to see more. I think there's other teams in the same area, 4-0, that maybe have played a little better teams or have executed and impressed me a little more, and they've proven something to me. And that's the teams we'll see coming up. At 21 is Kansas State. Haven't played the best competition either, but they do play a tough SEC team in Mississippi State, and they beat them. They got a tough test against Oklahoma State this week. We'll see what they can do there. That's a big-time game. But they did enough to be number 21 right now. If you remember in preseason, before the season, I said this was a wild card team to look out for entering the top 25, and they've done that. We'll see how long they can stay there for, though. They do play Oklahoma State, like I mentioned, this week. An underrated team here at number 20. Wake Forest has been super impressive, mainly on the offensive side of the ball. I was a little worried about the quarterback situation with Newman. I was surprised he got the job, but he's been fantastic. But definitely fantastic. A lot more impressive than he was, when he got his chances last year. And they have some pretty solid wins. Wish there was better ones in there, but they'll play the ACC schedule. Taking down North Carolina was super impressive. and the way they execute and go out and just play well on both sides of the ball against every team they play. And it's impressive to see they can put up points. So we still need to see more from Wake Forest, but for now, I definitely think they belong in the top 20 here, coming at number 20. Another underrated team, I have SMU at number 19, just beating TCU, who was a ranked team I thought was deserving of being a ranked team. And SMU showed that they can keep up with those Big 12 teams. They can score some points. Other than the TCU game, maybe not the most impressive wins, but like the other teams below them, still just that one impressive win is just enough more, just enough to do it. Having that win against TCU, a lot of these teams with their soft schedules these days, SMU being undefeated and having that win, I think they belong at 19 for right now. Number 18 is going to be a one-loss team. It's USC. I'm still surprised they lost to BYU. BYU, got to respect them for their tough scheduling because they played some good teams. And they played them, most of them somewhat close. So they actually took down USC. That was impressive. Still surprised by that, though. USC is a very good team. It doesn't matter really who they have at quarterback. They seem to play pretty well. Beating Utah definitely helps them, even though having a one loss, a win like that puts them up ahead of some undefeated teams, in my opinion. Also, the big win against Stanford was good. I love this receiver unit. Pittman, St. Brown, they look super impressive. And the defense, is pretty solid as well. USC, if they didn't have that BYU loss, which they do, but they would be much, much higher than this. But they're at 18 for right now. Number 17 is going to be an undefeated Virginia team. Not a whole bunch of impressive wins, but I do like this team. I do like the execution on both sides of the ball. I think they can play both sides of the ball. They have a tough task against Notre Dame this week, so we'll learn a lot. But I like them at the quarterback position with Perkins. And then Bryce Hall, I think one of the better corners in football. They have some talent on both sides of the ball. I think a very balanced team. Want to see a little more, but they're at 17 right now for Virginia. Number 16 is going to be Iowa. Another team, I'm sounding the same for a lot of the teams, but another team that doesn't have the most impressive wins. I think the schedule starts to get a little tougher for a lot of these teams, so we'll get to learn a little more. But the win over Iowa State, even though it was kind of a lucky one, it does enough to put them ahead of the teams I have below them. It does enough to put them at 16. They also prove that, once again, they have one of the best defenses in the country. So I do have them at 16. Just want to see them against a little better competition. Want their offense to play a little better. Washington's going to be at number 15. They do have a loss in a strange game against California, which, people still swear Washington's the better team, and they very well could be, but at the end of the day, they did lose, and it was to California. But they did beat up a pretty tough, like we talked about, BYU team who beat USC, who played some other good teams. So Washington, super impressive. I also think they have one of the better quarterbacks in the country. I think they're getting better every week. So they are at number 15, impressive team I'm definitely looking out for the rest of the year. Number 14 is an undefeated Penn State team. Really haven't been super impressive. I know Pitt isn't, it's somewhat of a tough opponent. We've seen them beat Central Florida. They played them close, and they were kind of close most of the game with Buffalo. They're undefeated, and I know they're capable of more. They just got to show it. They just got to show it. Team I'm a little worried about. They actually play later tonight, Maryland. So that actually could go either way. That game will tell us a lot here. So Penn State's at 14 and 13. A team we just talked about a little bit ago, kind of a surprising team, is Cal. They have that good win against Washington. Whether people feel different ways about that game, but they have that win at the end of the day. They beat an SEC team at Ole Miss. Maybe not the strongest SEC team, but they're undefeated. They're staying undefeated. Their defense, impressive. It's weird seeing a defense that good in the Pac-12. I wish a little more on offense, but they may have enough to continue to put up a fight. I don't know if I'm not predicting at all in power rankings. Obviously, it's week to week, but for Cal, I don't know if I expect them to stay up here. I think some of these Pac-12 teams will give them a battle. There's some pretty good teams. We already see a few of them on the rankings here. But so far, been very impressive, and I'm impressed with their defense. Number 12 is going to be Notre Dame. They do have a loss now to Georgia. They did play Georgia close, and people giving Notre Dame credit for that. Sure, they deserve some credit. At the end of the day, they lost. And really, if I go back and watch that game, I don't know if either team impressed me all that. I don't know if it was Notre Dame was that good. They played that close to Georgia. I don't think either team played to their best ability in that game. So it's really not that impressive to me. I know it's a very talented team. and that's why I have them at 12. They got something to prove against Virginia this week at home. They have talent, and they get something for playing close with Georgia in Georgia. I mean, that atmosphere was nuts. And I really, at the end of the day, they might be better than 12 if we're talking about just talent and take away the records and the body of work. But for now, want to see a little more. I got them at 12. And then Texas is coming in at number 11, another one-loss team. They played Oklahoma State close. Oklahoma State, I think, better than people think. And Texas proved once again they can put up points. I do worry about their defense. They did. I said that in the preseason too, before the season started. Worried about all the guys they lost on defense. And how that affect them. They're giving up some points, but they're able to keep up with teams. And you may say, why is Notre Dame not ahead of Texas? They both have one loss. Notre Dame just played Georgia close. I'm a little more impressed on that Texas have that Oklahoma State win, and they put up a fight with a very good LSU team. I think both of those gets them the edge over Notre Dame. So it's not really head-to-head what would happen between Notre Dame and Texas. That would be a good game probably, but it's more the body of work when it's that close. Who comes out on top. A little more impressed with Texas, but still some season to show me who is capable of more. Number 10, one-loss team here is the Oregon Ducks. Going back to week 1, I really thought they outplayed Auburn. At the end of the day, they lost the game. At the end of the day, they lost the game, so that's a loss. But I did like how they played. I did not like the coaching down the stretch that they kept them out of it. And after that, they've kind of learned their lesson. They're putting up some points on some teams. I want to see them play better teams, but they've proven to me they have a dynamic offense. Another one of those, up-and-coming Pac-12 defense, maybe the best. They're right there at Cal. They got some big-time playmakers, some good pass rushers. It's a pretty complete team. In terms of talent, they should be better than 10. They shouldn't have a loss, but they do. But it was still an impressive loss. It's an impressive team, and they're going to continue to get better. Hopefully the coaching staff, the play calling, learn their lesson a little bit. But I still think a top 10 team here. Number 9 is an undefeated Florida Gators. Maybe not the most impressive wins quite yet. I mean, it's tough to play Miami that early in the season, week 1. They beat up on Tennessee this last week, come back against Kentucky. Maybe a couple of these, maybe the 3 teams behind them, maybe they would beat them head-to-head, but undefeated right now and still very talented. The offense actually could continue to get better. It's a new quarterback. With time, it could get better. The defense is very good, so they're deserving of number 9 right now. I just want a little more proof, for them to be able to be put in the same conversation with the other top 9 or 8 undefeated teams. Number 8, this is where it gets really tough. Number 8, who's impressed me, that's an understatement, impressed me, is Wisconsin. People could maybe they want them a little higher, and they have been super impressive, but I don't really value the Michigan win that. I mean, it was a valuable win because it's a rival game, and they just completely outplayed them. It was dominance, but I didn't really value Michigan that high. To me, you look at the AP poll, that's not where I had them. So it's still a very valuable win. It's just not as valuable as maybe you think if you're looking at the AP poll. Michigan was so overrated, it was unreal. Wisconsin is insanely impressive. They finally gave up their first points of the year in that game, and the game was already over and dominated when they did that. So Wisconsin, I want to see more, obviously, but very impressive team on both sides of the ball. That's what's surprising. They got Jonathan Taylor, but you pretty much think that's really it of their offense, but it's not. But again, I want to see more. I don't know if there's that many great teams in the Big Ten this year, but there's a team we're going to talk about a little bit that Wisconsin will be battling with in the Big Ten this year. At number 7 is going to be Oklahoma. It's tough because people may say Oklahoma's better than 7. They very well could be at the end of the year. At the end of the day, right now they're at 7. I want to see more of them. They haven't played the best competition. The Houston win was kind of better than it was better then than it is now, that Houston win. They did give up some points down the stretch in that game. They played UCLA pretty tough, who just had a good win against Washington State. But I kind of want to see more. I am worried about their defense. Like I said, execution on both sides of the ball is a lot of proof to me. And once again, the defense is a question. I think there's a lot of other schools that can keep up with their scoring. And then the edge and where it's going here is the defense and kind of the body of the work, and that's why the 6 teams are ahead of Oklahoma right now, but a very good team, very well coached team. And Ohio State's at 6, same situation. They really haven't played anybody yet, but they've dominated those games. I'd still, defense was surprisingly a big problem for Ohio State last year. And I don't think it's anywhere near as big of a problem, but it's still a question mark. I think some good teams, the right teams, maybe not Big Ten teams, but I think some of those teams can score on Ohio State, trying to match them up with Oklahoma, the other teams around them here. They'll be able to score, but I think Ohio State has a very dynamic offense and can keep up scoring with a team like Oklahoma, where their defense might be a little better. But pretty much in the same boat, Ohio State and Oklahoma. Want to see them play better teams, really is what it is, but more for Oklahoma. For both teams, but more for Oklahoma. I want to see their defense play a little better. Talk about a defense here. The Auburn Tigers, very impressive defense. Derek Brown, going to be one of my favorite players in the country, one of my favorite players for the upcoming NFL draft. If you watch the Texas A&M game, they pretty much had him doubled up the entire game until he was still dominating on the double team, and they had to put 3 blockers on him. That's how good he is. And it's not just him. There's talent all over this defense. I think the offense has a little more to prove to me. So opposite of like an Oklahoma team, the offense has a little more to prove, but they have a true freshman at quarterback. I think is continuing to get better. They're recognizing what they are on offense. They're learning game by game. So a little more of an excuse, but at the same time, look who they played. They've beaten Oregon. They've beaten Texas A&M. So this team is well deserving of being number 5 at the moment. And it's crazy there's still 4 teams ahead of them. Auburn looks pretty good. Just want to see a little more on offense. Number 4 gets real tough here. Is Georgia. I kept them at number 4. I know they had a big time win over Notre Dame, and like I kind of mentioned in that game, impressive win from Georgia, impressive defense. Fromm had some good throws. He was Swift. I know he has more than that, but he did enough. Obviously, it's just I need to see more offense from this team. It's from that game. I wasn't really overly impressed. Neither team blew me away. It was just kind of just a good close game. It's kind of very good team, Georgia. They're going to continue to compete. I think they'll go undefeated up until the SEC championship. We'll talk about that game when it hits. Because looking at the rest of their schedule, not that it's easy, obviously not at all, but just Georgia being that good, I think they can go undefeated. But this isn't about predictions. To me, even though they have that big win over Notre Dame, it's pretty clear to me that the 3 teams ahead of them are just better. I think they're just better based on what I've seen, both sides of the ball. I think Georgia can compete defensively with those top tier teams. I just don't know if they can keep up scoring with those teams. And that was kind of my concern before the year, but a very good team, very good win over Notre Dame. Number 3 is Bama, who very well at the end of the day, at the end of the year, and it can get there, time will tell and time will put the right team at top. They could be the best team in football. A crazy offense, and we know they always have talent on defense. But the body of work right now, since the top 3 is so close, is what separates them. But yeah, you could argue Georgia's body of work's a little better. Sure, Bama's just proven to me that they're just better on both sides of the ball. I don't want to say can't compete. Georgia can definitely play with Alabama. I'm just confident Alabama's the better team. Very confident from what I've seen so far. And the more we see, the more we know as the season goes on. That's why these become more clear. But I want Alabama to play more, better teams. They will as the season goes on. And then if they beat them, they will go to the top. Time will tell. And then number 2 is LSU. And we can reveal number 1 at the same time as Clemson. And this is pretty close here. LSU, like I said, at the end of the day, when LSU plays Bama probably will be the favorites. Bama probably can beat them. But LSU has proven a little more to me right now. Their defense needs to, buckle down a little more, but they do have the talent. They are giving up late scores. But big time win over Texas. And they have an offense. Like I said, this team can play both sides of the ball, but it's crazy. It's not only, crazy seeing LSU as an offense, they have an elite offense. They can score on anybody. I don't know if teams can keep up scoring with them, and LSU can, get that quarterback pressure on defense. They can get that turnover between Delpit, Fulton, any of these guys. And having the body of work at the same time is so impressive. They may have one of the best quarterbacks in football, and that's crazy to say. When has LSU ever had that? Joe Burrow is outstanding, improving every day. And then the receiver unit, same thing. That's been a struggle for LSU since Odell and Jarvis. This receiver unit is fantastic right now. Body of work, execution, and offense is the main thing I'm looking. Offense is key, and they have an elite offense, and it's just absolutely wild to see. Can't wait till they play Alabama. I wish they played a team like Georgia this year. Number 1's Clemson, and it's tough because the body of work is is still maybe not quite as good. It's right around there with LSU, so it's definitely towards the top. Beating A&M and hold them to very little points and then scoring at the same time. It kind of went down a little bit because Auburn did something a little similar to them, but Clemson just being completely dominant on both sides of the ball, execution on both sides of the ball. They could have the best quarterback in the country. They do have the best running back in the country. They're right there with Alabama with the best receiver unit in the country. The offensive line's great, and the defense, every single tier, every single level of that defense is executing at a high level. Want to see more, but do we really need to see more to put them at the top? So I have Clemson at 1. There's really no reason to move them down, and that's kind of why they're at 1, because they were at 1. So that is my top 25. We'll see who just missed the cut. I still have Washington State, not top 25, just missed the cut. Tough loss to UCLA. This is one of the best offenses in the country, though, so they deserved an honorable mention here. And they play a good number 23 Utah team. The Memphis is undefeated. They have a win against a SEC team like Ole Miss. Not much else, but they're undefeated. Oklahoma State has some good wins. They played Texas close. They can put points up on the board. Very fun offense. Young quarterback that I think will continue to get better as the season goes on, and they play my number 21 Kansas State this week. Michigan State, love the defense. Michigan State, not the best body of work, also lost to Arizona State. So that team I didn't really consider for top 25, but I got to really throw them up here. Iowa State, if they didn't, lose that Iowa game, which was kind of unlucky for them, just a fluke thing, almost just a bad play on special teams, then they would definitely be in the top 25, but really no more body of work other than that one. And at the end of the day, they did lose that game, but a pretty good defensive team for a Big 12 team. And UCF, I'm very surprised they lost to Pittsburgh. I think it was just a weird and bad start. They had a crazy comeback. I do think they're better than Pittsburgh. Just a weird game, but at the end of the day, they did lose. But I still a very good offensive team, so they just missed the cut here. But that is my top 25. I really enjoy it. I enjoy this video even more now that we got top 25. I'm glad I made that change. Very similar to our NFL power rankings, so you can check that out every week. We also have recaps for NFL, picks for NFL and college football, and plenty more. Again, we have a live stream once in a while, and one of those is tonight. So if you're able to, please watch us tonight. Just be ready. Turn notifications on so you're well aware when we go live, whenever we do go live. Please subscribe if you haven't quite yet. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.